This is LibreQuest. My name is Matt. It is the 23rd of October 2019. I have been gone for a while, but I wanted to just try and get a podcast out today because I've been having some issues, some technical issues, and I haven't quite solved all of them yet. But I'm not going to talk about that today. I think I'm going to talk about that later. Because I would like to know if you can help with those issues, because I have not been able to figure them out. So, anyway, moving on, let's get to some news. From Softpedia News, this article written by Marius Nestor, posted on the 22nd of October. Tails 4.0 Anonymous Linux OS released based on Debian GNU/Linux 10 Buster. Ships with Tor Browser 9.0 and Linux kernel 5.3. Other news, Mozilla Firefox 70 is out. Privacy reports reveal whose cookies are tracking you. Mozilla doubles down on privacy to counter confusing online third-party tracking consent forms. Posted by Liam Tung, October 23rd, 2019. Mozilla has released Firefox 7.70, introducing new security indicators for HTTP and HTTPS sites, and a new privacy report that shows how many times its enhanced tracking protection has blocked third-party tracking cookies, fingerprinting, and browser-based crypto miners. Reminds me a lot of the features built into the Brave browser, which is a browser that I often use. So I wanted to do some news today that is some historical news. I do like to often go back and listen to podcasts from years ago. And so I wanted, I thought it would be interesting to put some news in from a few years before today. So this article was actually published 12 years ago in 2007, October 23rd. Asian Linux distributor strikes patent covenant with Microsoft in a deal that could lead to the creation of a unique cross-platform authentication system for heterogeneous networks. Tokyo-based Linux distributor Turbo Linux announced this morning, Japan time, it has reached an agreement with Microsoft for a cross-licensing of the two companies' patent portfolios. And that was posted over on Beta News by Scott M. Fulton III. And of course, I'm going to link these articles wherever I post this episode, which will be LibreQuest.org, YouTube, and over on archive.org. If you're interested in reading more about those articles. So I intended to get a podcast out and talk about a game. That's what it was going to be. That was about 5 days ago, and I ran into these technical issues, and there were many. The main one being the system that I actually started the podcast on wasn't really up to the job, and I just kind of got it started and got things rolling with that system just for the time being. And I had to move on to a different system that I had just because, that machine wasn't up to the job. But I'll talk about that on another podcast. Today, I'm going to go ahead and cover what I intended to cover in this podcast. Number 15 is what I intended to cover was a video game and testing that video game, taking a look at it. It's a game I've never played before. It is the game is Tomb Raider Chronicles. This was released by Eidos. I think that's how you say it, or Eidos, I'm not sure. And they are one of my favorite game companies. They are the company behind the Hitman series. And that was, aside from Half-Life, that's got to be probably my favorite video game series. And I think I own the very first one and the second one. I don't actually own the other. Well, I guess I do on Steam, but I don't know. I have them on Steam, but I don't actually have them like a physical copy of them. But that's cool. I mean, just whatever way you want to own the game, as long as you own the game, it's it's fun to play. So anyhow, yeah, I tested this game and I actually installed it over on the rescue machine that I had done a podcast about. It was a machine that was going to be thrown to the trash. I took the machine, kind of reworked it, cleaned it up, added some components that it needed to actually be a functioning machine again. And so that's my rescue PC. And I actually installed this game on there just to test it. And the cool thing about this game is on the back, it's got an advertisement for the Tomb Raider movie with Angelina Jolie. It says, coming summer 2001. I saw that. I thought that was pretty awesome. I've never seen that movie, but I've never played this game either. So one thing I discovered, first of all, this game installs and plays perfectly fine in the latest version of wine that's included in Ubuntu 1804, I believe is what I have on that machine. And so yeah, it works. It's working just fine with Ubuntu, and I think that ships with Wine 3, I do believe, Wine 3.0. So another thing about this game is it came with two CD-ROMs, and one was for the game, and the other one was for a level editor. And that's not something you see too often these days. You see that a lot with games that are open source and made by communities and stuff. Of course, you're going to have a level editor in there, but this game actually shipped with a level editor, which I thought was pretty fantastic. But I did find out that I'm really bad at this game, and that they really should have adopted the game controls that Half-Life was using. I mean, Half-Life came out in 1998. And the game controls that they used were the mouse and WASD combo, and this is all keyboard. I mean, when you first install it, all your controls are all keyboard, and it's not like that wasn't uncommon. And I do believe Hitman Codename 47, when they released that game, it was the same way. You all your controls were keyboard based, so it was a little bit frustrating to actually play. And the booklet that came with the game, it explains what all the controls are and all that stuff, of course, but it was still kind of difficult to play this kind of a game with just the keyboard. So, I would recommend, if you play this game, use a joystick, use a gamepad rather, not a joystick, unless you're playing the Atari version, which I don't think there is one. But yeah, use a gamepad for this, definitely, if you're going to play this game. Or if you want to just reconfigure the controls, it's up to you, whatever you want to do there. But one thing I thought was really fantastic about this game was the save and the load icons are floppy disks. They are 3.5-inch floppy disks. And I just think that's really cool, obviously, because my logo for the podcast is a floppy disk. And but anyway, yeah, fun game. It's pretty cool. I like it. It's going to be the raffle item. So if you're interested in possibly winning this game, you can join me over on Subscribestar, and I'll of course include a link for that. That's $1 a month, and you can join Subscribestar, and I do a raffle, or will do a raffle. Now, if you're watching the video version, there is some screen tearing. I didn't bother setting up the NVIDIA settings for the graphics card before I actually played the game, which I should have done. But in the future, I'll take care of that screen tearing and stuff. That shouldn't really be in there. Kind of amateur there, but that's all right. So anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about today. It's just going to be pretty much that for the podcast today. Yeah, it's a fun game. It's cool. But these issues I'm having, very, very frustrating with my setup in here. But I'll talk more about that later. And I usually say, hey, join me back here tomorrow. I'm going to be doing this or that. But with these issues, I don't know. I don't know if I should say that anymore. I don't know, because it's been 5 days since I did the last episode, and I took basically a really long break, and I intended to come in here and fix all these issues and take care of it, but I just have not actually had the time to solve those issues. So hopefully I'll be able to do that, and I'll do a podcast about exactly what the issues are that I've been having, and hopefully maybe you'll have some insight for me. You can share with me and figure that out, because honestly, I'm not an OBS user. I'm not a long-time OBS user. I am a long-time Linux audio user. I've been a moderator over on linuxmusicians.com for about 11 years, and my buddy Nathan Hale actually started that website, and he's actually moved on from there now. Super talented dude, but and a great project. I'm so glad that he did start that. But yeah, I've been a long time Linux audio musician and audio engineer kind of thing with Linux for a very long time, but not so much on the OBS and video and that kind of stuff. So that's really what I'm struggling with here. But that's not really I don't know. This is a podcast. It's really the video side of things is really just a supplemental. It's really just a supplemental to the podcast. But still, I want it to be at least quality and have something where if somebody is watching the video version, where they're not put off by any issues. And these issues that I'm having right now are off-putting to me. So, and you might have noticed that I went a little light on the news today. That's something I went back and I listened to some of my previous podcasts, and I don't know. It seemed with the news articles, reading the news, I do want to bring the news. I want to talk about the current things that are going on, just some announcement type things, because that's stuff I want to know. And you might catch that somewhere else on another podcast, but you might only catch it here. And if that's the case, then I certainly want to, keep you up to date. And for historical reasons, that's something that I enjoy doing, going back and listening to old podcasts and stuff, and that's just, it's cool to hear what was going on at the time. And I thought I'd start doing that here on the podcast, is talk about what was going on 10 years ago, 12 years ago, 13, 14, 15 years ago. It doesn't really matter exactly how far back. It's just, just for some historical reference, and just that kind of stuff is really exciting to me, just listening to that in different podcasts and stuff. But specifically the Linux Link Tech Show, I listened to episode 194. I believe that was yesterday, and because I was thinking, where's Marlan Dunn? I used to really like listening to his podcast, and I could not find him, so I just listened to 194 again. It was a good episode. So anyway, I think that's going to do it for today. And thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for being a listener. You can get this podcast over on LibreQuest.org. You can get it on YouTube. And, of course, you can get it over on archive.org. And thank you so much. And I will try and be back here tomorrow. And I think I'm going to go ahead and address the issues, the hardware. I don't think it's a hardware issue, honestly. I think it's a software issue. Because the issues that I'm having have carried over from one machine to this one. So I will address that tomorrow, and hopefully you'll have some, little more knowledge than I will on this stuff, because it's really, it's pretty new to me as far as video editing and that kind of stuff goes. So I'll see you back here hopefully tomorrow, and thank you again for listening.